In this question, we're going to calculate the arithmetic mean, median, mode, mid-range for this set of data. Most of your calculators can calculate these quickly, but if you are taking a class with an instructor like me, your instructor is probably going to want to see that you know how to do this at least once. In the chapter that you learned mean, median, and mode, you learned that there was a difference in symbols that you would use for a sample mean versus a population mean. We're going to assume that this is a sample. So if this is a sample mean, that means we will write the arithmetic mean with X bar. Median can be abbreviated as MED, mode is just mode, and then mid-range can also be abbreviated as MR. And we're going to want to go ahead and write down the steps to calculating the mean, median, and mode properly so that if you did need to show your work, you know how. So you always want to start with the formula. And again, because you have a sample versus a population notation, you want to make sure that you are writing down the correct formula to use for this sample. So X bar is equal to the summation of all of your data values divided by the total number of data values you have. So we're going to add up all of those values there. You can add it up one by one, or you could type it into your calculator and pull it from OneVar Stats. And when you come to rounding your decimals, you need to make sure that you know your decimal rounding rule. So the rounding rules say that you always want to round one more decimal than the raw data. So if you take a look here, at most, there's only one decimal value. So that means that our rounding rule will be 2 decimals. Okay, so that's going to be the same rounding rule that you use throughout statistics if you're taking a typical introductory stats course, at least with raw data. Okay, so that's the rounding rule for raw data. And then whatever you had your units would be right here. So if this was talking about points, then you would put points. If this was talking about inches, you would put inches. Okay, and so that's the work calculation you would do for your mean. The median, the very first step that you need to make sure you do is put your data in order from least to greatest. Once that happens, then the definition of the median is the middle number. So if it's an even data set like this one here, your middle number will land on 2 values. If that happens, you need to take the average, or you need to take the mean of those 2 numbers to find what the median would be. In this case, it's going to be equal to 56.8, and again, whatever the units would be. The next thing that we want to calculate is the mode. So the mode is when your data values repeats the most. So 79.1 was the most repeated data value, so we call the mode 79.1, and again, whatever your units are. For the mid-range, it's calculated by the maximum value of your data set divided by plus the minimum divided by 2. So our minimum was 39.3, our maximum was 79.1, and then we divide it by 2, and we get 59.2, and then again, whatever your units are.